You know that feeling when it's 2 a.m. and you're replaying a conversation from last Tuesday, analyzing the exact moment someone paused, wondering if that pause meant something, drafting in your head what you should have said instead. And you've already done this 5 times? You can't sleep. You're not crying. You're not on the phone. You're just lying there, eyes open, running an internal review of a 30-second exchange like it's a federal investigation. If you've ever done that, welcome. You're not broken. Not really. What's happening in your brain right now is something very specific, and once you understand it, that 2 a.m. spiral starts to look less like a malfunction and more like a feature you didn't ask for. If you're someone whose mind doesn't quite turn off, who notices the small things other people miss, who replays moments long after everyone else has forgotten them, there's actual neuroscience behind why your brain does this. Most people don't know about it. Start with what overthinking actually is. Most people use the word interchangeably with anxiety, but they're not the same thing. Anxiety is your nervous system bracing for danger. Overthinking is your brain trying to solve something that doesn't have a solution available yet. 2 completely different mechanisms, even though they often happen together. Marcus Raichle, a neuroscientist at Washington University, discovered something fascinating around 2001. There's a network in your brain called the default mode network. It activates when you're not focused on the outside world. When you stop paying attention to what's in front of you, this network lights up and it starts generating you, your memories, your fears, your imagined futures, your rehearsed conversations. Everyone has this. In most people, it runs at a moderate setting. In overthinkers, brain imaging research has shown the default mode network can run 30 to 40% more active during rest than in non-overthinkers. Much more active. So your brain is essentially doing what it was designed to do. Process information, find patterns, prepare for situations, but at a volume that other people don't experience. Wild, right? When you're, quote, zero, taking a walk, sitting on the bus, lying in bed, your brain is working harder than other people's brains are working when they're focused on actual tasks. No wonder you're tired. And here's where it gets interesting. Susan Nolan Huxema spent decades at Yale studying this exact pattern, and she found something changed how psychologists understood the thinking mind. Not all repetitive thought is the same. There's reflective thinking, where your brain is genuinely working through something useful, finding new angles, making sense of an experience. And there's rumination, where your brain is looping the same fragment over and over without producing anything new. The first one is productive. The second one is exhausting. Overthinkers do both, and often you can't tell which one you're doing in the moment. That's why just stop thinking about it feels so impossible, because half the time your brain is doing real work, and half the time it's stuck in a loop, and from the inside both feel pretty similar. Picture this. You're 8 years old. You're at the kitchen table. Your mom comes home, and there's a specific tightness in her shoulders, the kind that means today wasn't a good day. Your dad isn't back yet. The room is quiet, but not in a peaceful way. You don't say anything. You watch. You calculate. You learn within 3 seconds whether to ask, quote, to disappear into your room or say something funny to break the tension. You can't articulate any of this. You're 8, but you've already started building the scanner. That's not anxiety. That's pattern detection that was useful in one environment and is still running in environments that don't require it. The 8-year-old you needed that scanner. The 30-year-old you doesn't need it the same way. But the system is still there, doing what it was trained to do, looking for shifts and threats in rooms where there aren't any. Research from Edward Watkins at the University of Exeter shows that chronically active minds tend to develop in exactly that kind of environment, where reading the room mattered, where you had to anticipate moods, predict outcomes, prepare for shifts. Maybe your home was unpredictable. Maybe a parent had moods that turned without warning. Maybe you grew up around someone whose disappointment was the worst possible outcome, and you learned to spot the early signs of it before anyone else could. So your brain built a really good scanner. Then you grew up. The scanner didn't turn off. And here's the part most overthinkers don't realize. The system isn't broken. It's just running in the wrong context. The same brain that's keeping you awake at 2 a.m. replaying a conversation is the brain that, in different circumstances, would be saving your life by spotting something everyone else missed. The wiring is good. The wiring is doing exactly what it was designed to do. The wiring just doesn't know the threat is gone. Here's the part most people don't talk about. Overthinkers are usually really good at certain things. They notice tone changes in messages other people read past. They pick up on group dynamics in 3 minutes flat. They tend to be the people friends call when something complicated needs talking through, because they can hold multiple angles at once, and they actually care about getting it right. They often write well. Writing rewards exactly the kind of layered processing that overthinking does. There's a reason Joan Didion, one of the most precise observers of her own mind in modern literature, called her writing process __quote _3 __. That's an overthinker's brain on paper. The same machinery that has you replaying a conversation at 2 a.m. is the machinery that lets you remember in granular detail what mattered to someone you love 3 months ago. The tricky part is the cost. Sleep gets affected. Decision-making feels heavier than it needs to. Small social interactions get more processing than they deserve, which leaves you drained at the end of the day in ways other people don't quite understand. And the standard advice? Just stop thinking about it. Just let it go. Doesn't work, and never has. Because it misunderstands the mechanism. You can't just turn off a default mode network that runs higher than average. What you can do is learn to recognize when you've crossed from reflection into rumination, when your thinking has stopped producing anything new and started just repeating itself in slightly different words. That recognition alone changes everything. The shift isn't to think less. The shift is to notice when the thinking is done and to gently step out. Not because thinking is bad, but because that particular loop has finished its job. So if you're someone whose mind never quite turns off, you're not broken in some character flaw way. You're not anxious. You're just running a more active version of a system everyone has. And that system, calibrated this way, gave you depth, sensitivity, and the kind of awareness that makes other people feel actually understood when they talk to you. The work isn't to think less. The work is to know which kind of thinking is happening and to give yourself permission to step out of the loop without judging yourself for being in it. Next video on Saturday, there's an opposite type of person worth knowing about. People who hate small talk so much that a part of them dies every time someone asks, "How's the weather?" Not introversion, not snobbery, something else entirely, and the science behind it is more interesting than you'd expect. If this hit home for you, subscribe. There's a lot more like it coming.